Brought to you by MediaTek. Hi, and welcome to the Mobile Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Mingxi, and today is Tuesday, March 4th, 2025. We're right here in Barcelona at the Fira, at Mobile World Congress, at the MediaTek booth. And I got Mingxi here,
Hello.
Who is like the person to talk to about wireless and all things engineering related to wireless. So thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. So the big news from MediaTek this week is the M90 modem, brand new modem. 5G supports all the new latest specs, including millimeter wave. So tell us what's improved since the last generation in a nutshell.
Well, the way is, again, I really appreciate you bringing up our product. This is always something our engineers are really proud of, to make the product to benefit our consumers. So this generation of 5G modem, I would say, with the M90, really comes in with every generation we improve the data throughput, peak data rate. So for example, for this one, we are actually supporting 6 component carriers, 6cc at 400 megahertz for FR1. And then for FR2, the millimeter wave, we support 10cc up to 1.2 gigahertz of bandwidth.
Wow.
So out there, we have actually demonstrated, if you have seen our MWC booth, there is actually the FR1 plus FR2 5G standalone demo.
Nice.
With Ericsson base station as well. And we have demonstrated this also live over the air with Telstra. And really, we have achieved over 10 gigabit per second of downlink throughput from that perspective. So that is significant a boost compared to previous generation.
Some perspective about what the last modem could achieve in terms of peak speed.
So the last generation, I mean, for modem capability-wise, I think the peak rate is between 8 to 9 gigabit per second.
So we got a pretty significant, like 20% improvement,
exactly.
Right?
It's a significant improvement.
And then in terms of power efficiency is obviously a big deal when you're doing chips, and we're all seeking that right now, right? Because our SoCs are getting more power hungry at peak. But at the same time, anything we can save, especially when things are kind of idling, background, your phone's in your pocket, but you're getting notifications. You want the power to be as low as possible. So what have you been able to achieve on the power efficiency side of things? Well,
so what we have done is the following. Of course, every generation of the modem, we also try to strive to continue, based on experiences, to improve the power gain, power efficiency, to enable a longer battery life.
Right.
So as you mentioned, one thing that's also differentiating about the M90 modem, in addition to data rate, is that it is also a 3GPP release 17 baseline standard.
Right.
Of course, even with some of the early release 18 type of features. Now, one thing very important in the release 17 feature is really those low power saving features.
Right, exactly.
Right, for things like the paging early indications and things like that. So you can really quickly monitor certain control channels and be turned off as quickly as possible to really save the battery life.
Right. But what are you doing at MediaTek that differentiates you from the competition in terms of power management? Because obviously that's an area of expertise for you.
So of course, to talk about that, we have to get into the nitty gritty about turning off every single bit in there. But I think that what's important there is for MediaTek, what we do is we actually collect a lot of scenario and feedback from customers, look at the actual use cases, and based on these use cases, we truly go into every single aspect of the use case very carefully to see how we can minimize. Now, fundamentally, some power optimization can be done by software.
Of course.
And some needs to be done by hardware.
Of course.
So we very early taking this feedback, look at architecturally, how do we really truly enable the next generation to be beneficial to enable that. And so, for example, like even, of course, from the low power numbers, right, for M90, some of the things actually came from our M60 modem, which we actually demonstrated last year in
That's
MWC.
right, I remember that.
If you remember that, that one has the industry-grade lowest power in terms of standby time, in terms of also the flight time, flight mode time, and in this, technical jargon, PDCCH only, kind of time in modem. Because once you get all this power low, you can pretty much have a low power transmission for many other modes. That's basic. So we have the building block of a modem that we truly try to optimize the power for IoT and wearables. And we also leveraged the lesson for the M90.
Oh, fantastic.
And to enable the low power there.
So you took some of that like expertise from the lowest power devices that you create solutions for and brought it into like the best, most powerful modem that is going to be used in more heavy duty applications.
Exactly. We try to do the best
Awesome.
of both worlds.
Tell us a bit about how AI plays a role with this modem. I can obviously assume that we're seeing AI being used to optimize all kinds of things in software. Especially for signal processing, pattern recognition, machine learning and models can really help, right? So where are we at in the RF world with AI? Because I think my audience is well versed on what happens with AI in other areas, but RF is kind of magic, right? And that's why I'm like, when I studied engineering, RF was the hardest topic. And I was always thinking to my professors, I'm not worthy because RF just amazes me to this day.
That's right.
And so what secret special sauce do you have there for AI?
Yeah, I still remember the days too, like we relate, right? I mean, I remember days I would try to solve the Maxwell equation.
That's right. I know. It's like every engineer I ever talked to says RF was hard.
Exactly. Solve the wavelength equation. Yeah, but so coming back to baseline, I think that in this case, I think there are multiple dimensions that we do for basically our AI. There are ways we look at basic AI. I look at two general dimensions for modem. One is called a wireless for AI. The other is called AI for wireless. Now, first something simpler from a consumer perspective. Wireless AI means I want to make sure my wireless design can be equipped to address generative AI or other applications today on devices. So that you can see quite a few of the AI demo in our booth.
Obviously.
Right? Now, on the other hand, so what you're asking is really about AI for wireless.
Correct.
How do I use AI to optimize the wireless, right? So from that perspective, in our booth, we have actually been demonstrating one thing is called a smart antenna, AI for smart antenna, which is really an idea about, okay, you know what? How do I really use the radio wave to detect the hand gesture around my phone? So, for example, if my hand is kind of holding the phone or kind of close to my body or further away from body, there is this transmit power limit to protect your safety for electrical radiation. So if you're too close, you can't really transmit signal to be too high, right? So you can adjust your radio transmit power level based on your detection of the hand or other objects around you. So that's one way that our AI can use to adjust the antenna patterns, adjust the antenna powers, and all of that. So that's one basic way called the AI for smart antenna. So by doing
no
that,
more antenna gate ever again, because now you can detect the hands.
Well, yeah. So no, I mean that's a very good point, right? Because if without that, our transmit power design will be very conservative.
Right.
But once you detect no hand, you can actually boost a little bit of transmit power, then enhance your throughput. If you have it there, you maintain your safety. So that's one way. And the second thing that we do is we do a little bit beyond. Because your phone can detect kind of the radio signals, and also it has a lot of the signal fluctuations, patterns, right, coming from your channels being decoded by the phone. So by looking at these patterns, you can tell, it's a user in the subway station.
So you're able to use AI to learn patterns that resemble the common situations a user can be.
Right. So
am I on the street, in a house, in a concrete house versus a wood house?
Yeah,
maybe?
So of course, I think from a practical radio perspective, the thing that you're afraid the most is, for example, you search unnecessary networks, right? Have too many candidates, and so that your handover gets delayed, your phone call gets dropped, right?
Right.
So what we do is we try to find a few key scenarios where you really need to simplify or optimize or streamline your radio management, like when you're on a high-speed train, when you're in a subway, when you're in an elevator, or when you're hiking. In certain cases, you could actually simplify your management, and your radio need to only focus on modes that are better for these scenarios and situations.
Right.
And therefore, Number one, you get a much more stable network, right? And number two, what you get is, in some cases, you can even save your power because you don't have to do the unnecessary network searches.
Right, you get a lot of power management.
Right. So by doing AI, we really gain these things. And then third thing we do for AI, beyond the detecting your situation, right, for low power, is also about, can I detect the traffic pattern of my devices? So for example, right, there are, normally the phone, there's something called a quality of service, QoS, right? And the different traffic gets mapped to different QoS streams, quality of service streams.
Got it.
However, these quality of service flags are not always being honored by like the servers or network everywhere.
The data doesn't always contain the proper metadata for the proper application.
Right. So of course, if the data or everything is proper, we can do the proper thing. But on the other hand, the modem has a way to detect traffic patterns, so we can see whether it's a voice pattern, whether it's a video, or whether it's something that's highly intensive, right? And once you detect a pattern, you kind of can know that, for these patterns, I would expect this kind of mode to operate in my network. I want to increase my throughput and finish transmission as much as possible, or let me keep my throughput to be steady.
Got it.
And now here's the pattern I want to kind of configuration to adjust to it, right? And then, I'm not trying to use the jargons because
this is great. Keep going. It's good.
And then the one more thing you can do is the following: that if you're really a high volume type of user and you can predict the user may have a high volume traffic being coming or have a certain intensive videos being coming, you can actually, so we actually have a demo. I mean, it's a demo between Ericsson and with an Oppo phone using MediaTek chipset in their booth, which basically by detecting the traffic pattern that the user will be a heavy user, the phone can actually send a signal to the network via certain signaling. And the network can tell the operator, look, this is a user who may be benefiting from your better data plans. So when the phone detects that, the operator will send you a notice to the user, you know what? I notice you're a heavy user, you have a certain data plan, you may be consuming more data. Do you really want to use a better plan for you? User can select right there. So
that's interesting.
That's a practical application that connects the user experience, operator billing plans, and everything coming together through this scenario, through this traffic detection. So there are various things for AI. You can do the hand detection the simple way, right? Or you can do your situational, conditional channel detection, whether you're subway, train, etc.
Right.
And you can do the traffic pattern detection to identify the usage and also to save power.
Fantastic.
So these are all the AI things.
Let's quickly talk about satellite connectivity.
Oh, okay. Sure.
And also, I just have a couple of quick questions about where we might see the modem coming.
Sure.
So satellite connectivity obviously is a big deal.
Yes.
There's a lot of talk about this at Mobile Congress this year and last year. Things are kind of starting to standardize and gel with NTN, NRNTN, and of course 3GPP standard. What's different with the M90 versus previous versions in terms of NTN?
That's a very good point. So I think the thing about NTN, the MediaTek has always been passionately driving NTN. Because we really want to make sure that we enable technology that the more subscribers and users to be covered.
Universal. So not a specific thing. Like we're seeing a lot of very unique use cases, but we want to standardize, right?
Exactly. So even way before, I think I think the IoT NTN commercial happened even back in 2020. We enabled the first IoT NTN call, and then NR-NTN, we enabled the first kind of lab call about 2 years ago. Right. And then today in our Mobile World Congress, we're demonstrating NR-NTN at a wideband, at the KU band, at the 12 gigahertz frequency to enable a 50 megahertz user experience. Oh, very nice. So, of course, for M90 itself, coming back to practical, some bands we still need to make sure it's worldwide. So in M90, the specialty compared to previous modem is we actually have the hardware and also support of both IoT NTN, also called narrowband NTN, and the NR-NTN, all in there. So technically, you can, if somebody really wants an NTN, we can turn on this by software. Yes. Right? And the NIM, so the IoT NTN today, I think previously was in one of our companion chip, not in the former smartphone modem, but now it's really embedded in the smartphone. Fantastic. Kind of the IPs. And then for NR NTN, we didn't have that before also. Now this is the first time it's being integrated in hardware.
Okay.
In the modem,
In the modem
core IP itself.
One chip.
And it can be enabled for LS band today
Oh,
in the
cool.
low band. And in the future, if you need, go to KOK band, you can match with other RF patterns. But that's not capability for M90. That's something for the future.
For the future.
But at least for today, we have both the native narrowband NTN as well as the NR NTN
Fantastic.
support.
Great.
And hopefully we can provide better coverage for the users.
My last question is, where will we see the M90? Will it eventually get integrated in the Dimensity family?
Yes, so M90 as a modem actually goes in multiple dimensions. So we have M90 is really the modem IP. It will definitely go into the Dimensity family. In fact, even the Dimensity 9400 is a part of the M90 family, and there will be DX5 Dimensity.
Oh, wow,
For the
okay.
future evolution, that's one area.
That's one, okay.
Then the second area is we also have the thin modem product, which is
Right.
modem only, map with other APs. So for IoT device like fixed wireless access.
Yeah, exactly.
So we certainly have that going into a certain product form factor. And then we also have the kind of M90 going into like data cards
Right.
and other type of IoTs for 5G connected and even automotive.
Very
so
cool.
these are the areas all the same IP can get into.
Fantastic. Well, listen, thanks so much, Mingxi, for walking us through M90. I think the AI stuff is fascinating.
Thank you so much.
And, thanks again for being on the show. And hopefully we'll have you on again soon.
Okay, thank you so much and really appreciate the nice conversation.
Absolutely.
Well,
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much.
Thank you.
So, folks, we're back at MediaTek's booth for MWC's recap. Everybody's got some thoughts. Where do we start?
That's a big
Nick is like-
loaded question. Do we start with AI? Because no, we're not.
No.
We're not. But that's what everybody wants to talk about. But that's definitely not what we want to talk about.
The way I look at this is I don't want to spend too much time on Honor because they really didn't announce anything good as far as I know. There's no
Pad was
there's,
good.
there's no phones.
No.
There's no
The pad was
phones. They have a new tablet that looks pretty good.
good.
They have some new open ear earbuds that are
Also good.
Also really
Software,
good.
not great. But
and then they have a new smart-ish watch.
Yeah.
One of those
Well, there you go.
two-week watch.
We covered Honor.
Hardware's watch.
And
So now
that's good.
we can move on.
That's
And wait, Alpha Plan.
Alpha Plan.
Yeah,
But that's out. That's AI, and we're not talking.
Yeah,
that's
Google it.
Yeah,
We'll be
that
fine.
sounds very much like what is it, like some kind of like TV show from the 70s?
Right.
Yeah.
Alpha Force or something.
I mean, and it kind of had that vibe too, because on the stage, all of the different people who were involved came up around like glowing orbs and put their hands on the
I heard
orbs.
about that.
To grow the
Oh, I see we're talking way too much about Honor now. Okay,
it felt
so
like a
let's do
super-
quick intros. On my immediate left, Kevin.
Yes.
Nether.
Yes.
I had to do the math there for a second. It's your left too.
Yeah.
Jason Howell.
Hello.
Adam Doud. And Nick Ray, who has to duck out early.
But I'm not. I'm actually not going to.
Oh, you're not?
No, I decided not.
Okay,
to. So
great.
I'll be here the whole time.
Oh, fantastic. So we have a bunch of stuff. I mean, Honor, obviously, Alpha Force, Alpha Zone,
Alpha Plan.
Alpha Plan.
Plan.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about AI.
No.
No.
Like, if we talked about AI, we need a 2-hour show. And even
Right.
then, it would be boring.
Yeah.
I mean,
it would be a 2-hour show that nobody wants to listen to. So
the one thing that I do want to say about AI that I've heard at MWC is a lot of brains are talking about GUI based AI, which is like allows an AI to like use an interface of an app in order to do things, which is something that has been desperately needed, and I'm very much looking forward to that. But that is kind of a nebulous
Like, you're
concept.
talking about like the large action models. That
No,
it's agentic AI.
So you
Agentic.
can
Yeah.
so you can say I want to watch a show on Netflix, and it will go into Netflix. It will find the show. It will start playing the show for you.
that's what large action models are.
Well, right.
Perform an action.
Oh, right. Okay.
On your
So,
apps,
yeah.
on your phone, on your device.
Right.
That's
And then
definitely
agentic is another way.
It's a trend that you see in a lot. Like Moto has their AI, Honor, Google.
So those of you
course,
watching
Gemini.
this right now on video on my Patreon, thank you for being supporters. That MediaTek TV back there, that screen that's MediaTek, is actually not dirty. It's a constellation.
Right.
Like, it took us a while. We're all like wiping down the screen. All right, so I want to kind of start maybe with Xiaomi, maybe. Like,
Okay, sure.
There's a bunch. Because I did not get much from Xiaomi in terms of like they sent me the PR, but they did not invite me to their event. They sent me the 15, which I have in my pocket here, the baby one.
Nice.
In a case. Great phone. I've been using it to capture all my content, video and product photography. And it's holding up to like my Pixel and my Galaxy that I normally use on my iPhone for video. So that's pretty solid.
And you know, if
But I don't
Miriam is
have
saying
the-
that it's holding up to the Pixel, that means it's
I
a
don't
really
have
good phone.
I don't have the Ultra. So
Yeah.
to me, that's still a big mystery. And then they announced these magnetically, attachable cameras. So who was at Xiaomi? Who can fill in?
Oh, I didn't see that.
I was not at Xiaomi.
Neither were you. Wow, that's amazing.
Well, I was at Honor because
Yes,
I had
because-
to be at Honor.
Yeah, yeah.
It was at the same time.
I demoed the modular
Tell us about it.
thingy.
Oh, nice.
On a Xiaomi 15 is kind of what they demonstrated with a little magnetic thing on the back and a couple of pogo pins. So big micro four thirds lens that you just kind of seal on with the
Right.
magnet snap right in. F1 to 4 aperture,
So they only had,
manual autofocus.
one module.
That's all they were showing.
Yeah.
When I had my.
And so the idea, right, is that APS-C sensor inside a lens. So you don't actually remove the lens from the sensor. It's not like the Q series from Sony years ago, where
So we were talking about that. Sony did this 11
Yeah, the
years ago
QX
at
or whatever it
MWC.
was.
So this is retro tech. Now, this is not new tech. And it's only a concept versus what Sony sold 11
yeah,
years
and they had brackets that was really cumbersome, and
Yeah,
Wi-Fi
but-
connectivity at the time was very
Yeah,
cumbersome.
it was Wi-Fi direct and Bluetooth connectivity. But the difference was this one has to be attached to the back of the phone to work.
Right, because it has pogo pins.
Pogo pins. Well, it has pogo pins, and what they're saying is it's actually not just a regular pogo pin connection. It's actually a pogo pins to align it and for power. But then they have
Communicate via
the other communication is laser communication. It's an optical communication.
oh wow.
So like completely overboard of what you actually need it to be.
No, but it's interesting because I was wondering how they did that because I saw 2 pogo pins. So I'm like, that must be power.
The pogo
But where's
pins are
the data
power.
going? So I figured maybe they used Wi-Fi Direct or something. Because here's the thing: 11 years ago, Wi-Fi Direct wasn't as reliable. The APS-C sensors that Sony used weren't as good as modern sensors.
Sony
smartphones.
was just getting into
Right.
their
But I'm saying
mirrorless
like
cameras.
they weren't as good, right?
Yeah.
So now a Micro Four Thirds today is way better than APS-C then, right? And now we can also with APS-C, the Z stack is taller. So with Micro Four Thirds, you can compact it. So the idea, I guess, is that it's like MagSafe with pogo pins. You just line the thing on and clunk, and then you've got another lens, and the lens has the sensor in it, right? So this is the concept. But I think they should do this. I think this is
I thought it was super solid. And my one concern that I had was like, okay, this is a big, honking lens that feels like you don't want to drop it. Does it seal to the device in a way that you can trust? And I mean, the magnet was pretty damn strong.
It's pretty damn strong, but like if you go like this, it
Yeah,
could fall.
exactly. You still want to be careful. Yeah.
I mean,
So-
MagSafe is freaking solid on most devices.
So on the same topic, though, Realme had their version of this,
I didn't get to see that.
which is they're one booth over, right over here. So if you want to go after this, instead of having a sensor attached to a lens, it has 2 1-inch sensors on the phone. One has a regular smartphone lens on top of it that you can use. The second one is an exposed
open.
sensor.
I mean, it's got a glass cover,
There's glass over it. And then it has a modular lens mount that you snap
It's
onto
like a
it.
Canon though, like with because it
And
adds
then-
like an inch or 2 to just.
And then
there you are.
and then on top of that, then you put your actual I think they're M-mount lenses. Any M-mount lens you want on it, they had
But it's manual focus because they don't have autofocus.
so it's manual focus. So you're sitting there holding the phone awkwardly, and then you're like, "Can you turn it?" But it works really good. You just have to put in the patience.
Yeah.
But again, it's a concept.
And I got hands on with that. Go on.
Yeah, no, same. Yeah, we're in the same
Now
room.
we're in the
together.
same room.
It was very
What's your
clunky.
take?
It was very clunky.
Very clunky.
And it felt like a hack and slash science experiment. It didn't feel like anyone would actually buy something like that and use something like that.
The Xiaomi one was high tech.
Yeah.
This one was very mechanical.
Yeah, very like it feels like some guy like, oh, let me like my dad, like I need help with something around the house.
Check out what I can.
kind of throw it together.
Let me solder this to the back.
Yeah,
of the
that's
phone.
that's what I mean. Yeah, the images looked great.
Yeah.
but
Very
it's just
concept.
but it's just like things would have to be ironed out significantly and actually look completely different before you expect a consumer to use something like that. Because even the people working there had issues kind of putting it together. It was like
Yes, they did.
one person that knew how to do it, and it
Also,
just felt kind of weird to me.
The phone was based on an 8 Gen 2 flagship
Oh, was
from
it?
a
Wow.
few years ago. So it's not like they've been organized for a while. But I want to add this is not new either, because Xiaomi did that as well. Xiaomi did an 11 Ultra back in the day, a special edition Concept 11 Ultra,
I remember
where
that.
they rearranged the rear lens layout. They removed one of the telephotos at the time and rearranged the rear layout to add a 1-inch sensor in the middle with a ring that you could, again, with an adapter mount, M mount or some, I think it was E mount, Sony, whatever.
It was an E mount.
E mount. But the point is, like, this is, again, coming from Realme, I thought that was really interesting because officially
they're a budget-friendly
Yeah.
Chinese brand for people who want a phone for $300.
exactly, and they announced a phone that's been out in China for a while, the Realme 14 Pro series, which is 14 Pro and 14 Pro Plus. I've
Color
had it,
shifting.
yeah, I've had it for a while. I've talked about it on the podcast. I posted photos online of the color shift when I had it back in January after the embargo lifted. So it's nothing new, but the nice thing is, like, just like another phone we're going to talk about soon, is like you're getting now phones with telephotos that are really decent, like 50 megapixel periscope or triple prism, tri prism
Yeah.
for $350, $400.
And you don't even really need that attached lens
Exactly.
anymore. Like,
So
that
it's,
is-
it's kind of interesting. But thanks for bringing up Realme, because I think that was a bit of a surprise, right? Like we knew the 14 Pro Plus was coming, but that was like whatever, and that's not so new us anyway. And then now we have this Xiaomi concept, and then the Realme concept, and then of course, I want to quickly spend a second now that the Xiaomi 15 Ultra is official. We should probably talk about that.
A little bit.
I don't have one. You have one.
I do.
Some
I
of us
have it
got
with
one
me.
sent. Mine is
Yeah.
coming. I've requested one.
Yeah.
That 200 megapixel telephoto it's kind of like up there with the
It's
Vivos. right?
wild.
It's crazy,
Like,
right?
Yeah. So like you said, I received, and I also got the photography kit that they're selling along with it, which is really cool because it has this, basically a camera grip that slides on, just like last year.
Yeah.
They did the same
You
thing.
can put filters and stuff.
Yeah, and they have like accent buttons that you can like screw on, and I actually lost the accent button and then went back and found it like on the street. It was kind of hilarious.
Lucky.
But yeah, the 200 megapixel telephoto. I've actually got some photo samples if you want me to. Like, I don't know how well it would translate.
No, you're a
but-
little too far from
There-
but
I mean, you're really solid up to like, I would say 30 to 50x magnification. Like it's really good. And you were doing some product photos with the baby 15.
yeah.
Which were
The
just
baby 15 goes great up to
Yes.
5 or 10x, and honestly, I'm really impressed. This is like, I used the 14 last year. I had the regular 14 as well, and that was a really great phone too. But this is going above and beyond what my expectations were. I would say that you could argue potentially that the Xiaomi 15 is better than the Find X8 non-Pro,
possible.
and that is a really good camera.
Right.
phone.
And the one thing that I've amused to no end about is the fact that the camera grip fits seamlessly onto
On
the
the
Nothing 3A Pro, and it
And the
like
Nothing
works.
3A regular.
Yeah, and it works. Like you can take photos with
Even
it.
the
zoom
zoom
in,
rocket.
even
works.
zoom in and
I
out,
know.
yeah.
I tried it.
The aperture doesn't work,
Oh, okay.
unfortunately. But
Yeah, the
everything else
zoom
works.
it's nice that they're using the standard USB-C protocol,
Right, protocol for
that,
it, yeah.
so that it
I'm actually
it translates
surprised there's a
across.
protocol beyond the shutter button
Right.
for that.
Well, so
Like-
the zoom thing, it goes to one of the settings that goes to your volume rocker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
makes sense.
But the chassis for the both phones is exactly the same, so it fits on like as if it was designed for.
That's amazing.
I think it's pretty cool.
So speaking of which, let's talk about the Nothing phones.
Yeah.
I have mine right here.
Yeah.
I've got both.
Put your nothing phones out on the table.
Oh, good. Here, let me show them both. This is the 3A and on the left, and the 3A Pro on the right.
Right.
And I'm blown away by this camera. for
Yeah.
the money.
Oh, yeah, the
It's like
camera's really
this
good.
is a $459 phone, and your over there is a $379 phone.
Yeah.
And for that money, these phones are incredible design and value, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say my one disappointment is the ultra wide camera, which is
It's
actually
potato.
It's a downgrade. Right?
it's a downgrade from last year.
Yeah.
And going to an 8 megapixel sensor that can't even record 4K video is
Last year's could?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I agree, but it's not weird to find an 8 megapixel ultra wide camera on a mid range phone.
that's perfectly fine, but there are 8 megapixel sensors that can record 4K video.
Fair enough.
So like this
Because
phone,
I don't
this
know about
phone here,
you.
this is the Oppo phone. It has an 8 megapixel ultra wide that records 4K video.
What
Yes.
would you use
For
an ultra wide camera to video?
car stuff.
Oh, I use
All the time.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
if
like
you-
wildlife. If you're out in the
A lot of,
No, I mean, for me-
a lot of perspective stuff too.
It's a legitimate question for me because I never video anything except for video. tests.
also like
So-
if you were trying to do the vlogger thing with a phone and use
Yeah.
the rear cameras, you can frame yourself right with the main camera, but it's like just right here.
Yeah.
If you switch to
Yeah,
the
okay.
ultra wide,
That's a
you
good
get
point.
your whole body.
I'll give you an
good point.
example. If you're in a crowded space, if you're shooting photos, you can generally for shooting cars, you do not want to shoot at anything less than 50 millimeters portrait. So
Okay.
2x
Okay.
on your average phone.
Right.
Because if you start doing 1x or less than 2x, you get that
You get
weird
skew-
distortion.
skew mark,
You don't
yeah.
get good proportions on the cars. Now,
Same with laptops.
Now, if you
Same with laptops.
if you stand back for 2x, there's no way you could get that Xiaomi SU7 Ultra that's on the show floor because there'll be people on your way all the time.
Fair enough.
So then sometimes you have to switch to 1x, or if you're shooting video, it's even more exaggerated. You actually have to go to ultra wide unless you want people constantly in front of your shot.
Right.
Case in point,
Okay.
I shot the Xiaomi car ultra wide, and I've been doing portrait.
Mhm.
I didn't want people to be in front of me, so I had to use the ultra wide to get it. And if I did 1x, it would have been
And
quarter
somehow,
Well, see, that's what the cane's for.
in video,
You do that to people, nobody else is going to walk in front of me. I'm just saying.
in video though, the distortion is less of an issue because there's motion and you can kind of. But if you look at a still image,
Yeah.
shooting ultra wide for cars is terrible. Or anything
Oh, sure.
1x even is.
But it's also just like foundational. If you're saying this phone is an upgrade because of the cameras, and then you downgrade
Well, the cameras.
then
That's
you
tough. Yeah, sounds a
have to
very
have
fair
halfway through the
point.
conversation.
Yeah, sounds a very
yes,
fair
we
point.
put a telephoto zoom camera, great, but you crapped all over the ultra wide. So
Yeah. I mean, I didn't use the ultra wide much so far. It's been okay, but I didn't do video. And honestly, the 3x telephoto is really solid.
It
It's
really
up
is.
there with Find X8, with the little Xiaomi 15. It can do 6x,
Yeah.
10x
Yep.
with no loss of quality. It's really impressive. Dynamic range is really good too. Now, the reason I think they've managed this is because they've gone for obviously a very affordable, like periscope, which is why it's so big. This camera bump is
huge, yeah.
insane.
It is.
Right?
It really is.
It is ultra level camera bump.
But I
These
think it's-
phones are huge,
kind of a
actually.
polarizing
You don't notice how big
camera
these
bump.
phones are
Exactly.
until you put them next to like a Pixel or something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're like, holy crap, right?
And that's exactly, Jason, how I described the camera bump in my review. It's very polarizing. You're going to love it or you're going to hate it.
I actually like-
I skew more towards the hate it side. The one thing about Nothing phones has always been intentional design. Everything that they do is intentional. Like they're doing, the font that they built was intentional, and the software that they built is intentional. That camera bump does not feel intentional to me. It feels like, oh crap, how are we going to fit all these sensors into the camera?
I think you're right. And I think that from pure design perspective, I think the 3A that Jason has there
Yes.
looks
is
So
my
much better.
preferred design. But I think that they owned it. Like they went nuts with that. camera.
Yeah, they did.
Like, they were like, okay.
But here's my issue is like you can make it big, that's whatever. There is no lens there that lines up symmetrically in any
Yeah.
way. Like the two that are like side by side aren't even aligned properly.
Right. Yeah.
Like they're just off. They're
It's just weird. I mean,
It's like a smattering of lenses.
Yeah.
like
But-
it was either there was no way we can do it as like there's internal components that
Right.
just needed to be moved around, or let's just make it as unsymmetrical as possible.
I feel that's what they did. It's the same thing.
But for when I look at the back, I'm like, the big circle doesn't bother me. It's the little circles inside the big
Yeah.
circles that are like making me go cross-eyed here. I'm like,
And-
whoa.
And it should be mentioned that that is like my only con on the entire review. Like everything else is really super.
Yeah. So stay tuned. I'll have my review in like a couple of weeks because there's no way I was going to hit that embargo. My phones did not arrive till like Friday, basically.
And the only other
So-
the only other ding that I give the Nothing phone is the new Essential key. They have this Essential space where like you can have
We're
your
not
phone.
talking about AI, Adam.
Well, you can have your phone remember things for you and take screenshots. But my one criticism is there's no way to liberate that data. That data is stuck in your phone.
Yes,
And
that's happening with more and more phones, right?
Yeah.
Like, in fact, like
But
the,
nothing-
the Moto Beta stuff we've been seeing is kind of like that too.
Nothing did say that they're working on it, and that's like a pain point that they're trying to address.
My biggest
So,
pain
down the
point with
road.
that button is it's not repurposable. You can't reassign
can't
it to
reassign it,
something
yeah.
else.
Yeah.
Right now, it doesn't work when the camera is running, so it doesn't become a shutter button, which it's something they said they're working on.
Oh, that's low-hanging fruit.
Yeah,
You
that
gotta
was
do that.
promised. That was promised in the specs, and now it's not there yet. So
okay.
I think there's a few. Look, overall, I think these phones, like
Oh.
again, design and value. Like whether you, depending on where you stand on the design of the camera quads, depending on which model you want, the value proposition,
yeah.
especially in North America,
It's a no-brainer.
is beyond
It's a
like
no-brainer.
amazing.
It's also worth mentioning, disclaimer, it's not optimized for American carriers.
Right.
When I popped it into my T-Mobile, I actually got a message from
I
T-Mobile
did too.
saying like, this isn't optimized. I had no problem with getting on the internet. I had no problem making phone calls. It was fine.
VoLTE
but-
works.
Huh?
I haven't been in the US with it yet.
The who?
VoLTE,
That's
very-
from what I remember, yeah.
because if you don't have VoLTE, you can't do AT&T.
I don't
Does
know about
Wi-Fi
that.
calling work?
I don't recall.
So these are very critical things when you test the phone in the US,
Gotcha.
especially on T-Mobile. You get the
And
VoLTE is for
again, the
AT&T.
phone is officially not available in the US. So
Well, no, it is available through the beta program.
that's not officially. It's through the beta program.
Yeah.
It's through the beta program, so they don't have to do FCC
Oh, you
clearing.
mean official as in
like no like,
regulation official?
regulation
Yes.
official,
You
like-
can buy it, so it's official.
no, but it's not. Their emails say the phone is not available in the US other than the beta program.
Right.
Please sign up to be a beta tester to buy this phone.
But the bottom line is super awesome phones, great display, decent performance. I love the software. The cameras are really solid. The price
Feels
is
nice.
amazing.
You know,
What?
sometimes with phones, like something that goes a long way.
Feels
It
nice.
Just
Yeah.
feels nice.
Yeah, it feels good.
Like,
Yeah.
when I have
It's a
this in
bit
my
big
hand.
though. It is a bit big
Yeah.
Is it?
compared to the 2A.
The big difference between one of the other big differences between the 3A and the 3A Pro is the 3A has a polycarbonate backplate, whereas the 3A Pro is glass.
I thought they're
So-
both glass.
I don't think
Yeah, they are
so.
because
I
if you
could
look
be
at the
wrong.
camera cutout, you can literally see where the glass ends and the poly starts.
I could be. I
They said that,
swear I remember from my briefing that they said
No,
it
in the
was-
review, guys, it says glass on both of them.
Is it okay? All right. Well, never
Yeah,
mind.
but it's a difference compared to 2A because 2A was one piece that went right into the camera bar.
Yeah.
Because the reason there's a difference there, a cutout, you can feel there's an edge. It's because there's glass and then plastic.
Okay. All right.
I think that was one of their big selling points. They're like, we made the materials better. Because the other ones, last year, scratched quite a bit. I mean, you can't, Lexan just scratches, right? Like, yeah, you can't avoid it. All right, so how do we feel about nothing? We're good?
Oh yeah. I think
Shall we
so.
move on? I think we should talk about, let's see, we've got Xiaomi. So Xiaomi's great. They've got the concept, and then they've got the Xiaomi 15 and 15 Ultra, which are now official. We got Honor. We talked briefly about them. We've got nothing. Now Oppo. Oppo did mostly AI stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
and nothing else really.
We don't talk about AI, so.
So
Can we talk about WikiTel?
sure, but I want to get the big players out of the way first.
Okay, fair enough. We need to talk about that.
Yes. So let's talk about.
Motorola?
Let's talk about. Well,
Motorola didn't really
we should
have.
talk about Lenovo. Is what we should talk about.
Well, Motorola
The
did
laptops.
the Smart Connect update, which is really cool.
Yeah, tell us about it. Because
they demoed a couple of different things. First of all, so Smart Connect's been around for a while. For those who are not familiar, it used to be called Ready For, and now it's Smart Connect. It allows you to, work between your phone and your computer seamlessly. Yada yada yada. So now you can set up your computer and your tablet and your phone to all kind of work together. So there's like a universal search function that you can use. The forbidden word for AI. So you can ask your phone to find all of your documents pertaining to cornbread making, and the phone will search all 3 devices for those files that pertain to that, which is cool in and of itself. But they also have a thing where you can ask your phone to open Instagram on your computer. And it will stream the app to your computer screen. And if you do multiple apps, it'll line them up side by side. And there's also when you swipe up from the bottom, to go to the home screen in a gesture situation, there's a UI button right in the middle of the screen where if you drag the app up to that and release it, it will send it to the computer.
pretty cool.
So
Very cool.
it's really cool, and it's also going to be available on all Android devices, not just Moto devices. Some of it's going to be watered down on non-Moto devices because they said there's parts of the stack that they need to get into to get the AI searching and stuff like that. But the general functionality will be available on any Android phone, which I think is actually very cool because that's not Moto trying to lock you in. That's Moto just trying to make a better experience for as many users as possible. It's kind of like the a computer on every desk running Microsoft software kind of thing. Motorola wants a phone in every pocket running Motorola software. So, which is a great.
So that's a good segue to talk about Lenovo because they launched a bunch of new laptops, mostly their revised version with new chips. But that's not what I'm interested in. It's the concept.
It's the other route. You're going to go to the other route.
Spend more time there.
So one of the first things I did at MWC this year was a briefing with Lenovo, and they showed us if you look at my reels on my Instagram, you'll see there is a solar laptop. You saw it.
I did. Yeah.
A solar laptop. So essentially the lid here of the entire computer is a solar panel, which is why don't we already have this? It makes perfect sense.
Right.
And it charges the battery when it's closed. And when it's on, it actually powers the laptop as much as possible from the solar first before it goes to the battery or power supply.
So the reason we haven't had it until now is the efficiency rate of the solar panels itself. So this is a 24% efficiency solar panel because the power coming in has to exceed the wattage of the battery in order to charge it. Otherwise, it doesn't charge it. So only now can you actually do it with 24% efficiency panels. So that's one of the, because I've been thinking the same thing. Why haven't we just stuck solar panels on everything? It's because the battery wattage has to be.
And also,
lower
I think
than
it's kind of like the solar panels are more efficient. The computers are more efficient. Less power draws.
And for context,
line has been
and it could be that they actually have multiple batteries on the inside in series, so that the wattage of the batteries are actually lower.
For context for listeners, 24% is actually really insanely high.
Oh, it's really insane.
So you see most solar panels on people's roofs, those are 15 to 18%. And every percentage points, if people think, oh, it's 1%, but going from 20 to 21 is technically a 5% increase in overall power. It's 1 percentage point, but 1% of 20 is 5%. So going to 24% is incredibly more efficient than and I think the records now are 32%, but those are in the labs only, not in production.
How expensive are these panels though? Are they manageable? Could this laptop be made for maybe $50 more than a regular laptop?
Oh, probably. Yeah. I mean it's all about surface area, right?
But for thin and light,
you can get a 100-watt solar panel for $100.
Yeah, they're not that expensive, but are they 24%?
No, they're not. But this is 1/10 of that.
Yeah, exactly.
So like the panel itself would be $10 and then the manufacturing, whatever. So like
So
maybe they'd add $50 to $100.
So
to a
it's
laptop.
reasonable to say that maybe in the future, more and more laptops will have a solar panel. on the back.
Yeah. And we also saw
Were we up
on
to
that same line.
No, look at it. Look at it.
I have a
that same
reel
line,
on my, so we can ready to close up on this stuff. Yeah.
Tecno released their solar panel concept smartphone.
Oh,
So
I
they
have
have-
to. I'm going there now.
They
Oh, I didn't even see that.
they have a smartphone with a solar
Oh
panel.
wait,
on
no,
it.
I saw it. I saw it. That was Infinix. I saw
Infinix
it.
as well.
That was
Yeah.
not
Or- really? It was-
Infinix at Showstoppers.
Okay, so maybe there's both of them.
Oh,
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Good. So Lenovo, the other thing, and Kevin,
Yeah.
I think this is the one, right? The one that really killed is like the one with the flippable.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
So they just, you want to tell the story or what? How would you describe that? to
Yeah,
me?
didn't they call it a 5-in-1?
They call it a flip.
A flip, yeah, 5-in-1 flip, where it's like a standard laptop. Then you have the flip mode. Then
So
you
the-
have you
You
flip
open
yeah,
it
like
and then the lid reverse, like it's a
yeah, like a
it's kind of like the Huawei where it's reverse
yeah,
fold, right?
Like-
yeah,
Like a
reverse-
trifold.
Yeah.
It's outside.
and
fold.
so
Yeah.
outside fold,
So
and
then-
so then it turns into double the size screen, like
yeah.
vertical.
But then they had a mode.
18.1 inches.
Yeah, but then they had the mode where it was like almost like a flip like a flip phone.
like a tent.
yeah, like the
Yeah, tent mode.
tent mode. Yeah, like the like the razors. And then even then they did a gesture on top.
Yeah,
like, to control both
because
screens.
the edge
Yeah.
is exposed.
Yeah,
you can
so it's
use
like a
the edge
gesture.
as a like kind of like ambient display.
Yeah,
with
so
time
it was just
and,
weird.
like,
Well, so
battery level. or
What he was
whatever.
talking about there is if you don't project something to the back screen. So if you're looking at something on the front screen,
Yeah.
there's like a swipe gesture that says duplicate this on the back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was just
screen reader.
yeah.
Or there's an option to do a different thing on the back. So someone can watch a movie on the back while you were working on
Yeah.
the front.
And by the way, that laptop
awesome.
would be super handy for me to be showing pictures.
Yes, right. That would be the
It
perfect.
just,
That would be
you
the
know,
perfect thing.
it reminds me of like the old school Samsung Edge where you had that little strip
Yeah, that's what I love.
where you could do things and swipe between it. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
The cool thing here, like everyone saw the rollable display laptop at CES. And so they said the panel is the same. It's just being used in a different way. So instead of rolling up into under the keyboard, it's just folding in on itself backwards. It's the same flexible panel. But because this one doesn't have the motors and the servos on the inside to make all that happen, it's 3 pounds lighter.
Yeah, and it's super thin too. Like
Yeah.
you could like I saw it, I'm like, this looks like a finished product, not a concept. It's like,
Except
kind of flimsy to
the
me.
concept one, there was like 4 of them failing during the demos.
Oh, really?
Like the OLED had like there was a black mark in the OLED. Some of them, the adhesion from the back were like peeling out. And like, don't film this one.
oh
Yeah.
boy.
That's a rough one.
One mine, but it's
So
when
it's still
I went,
concept.
I went very early, and mine were all perfect. But the bottom line is, also you can now make it into a tablet,
Yes.
right? So when you close the lid, the outside is
still
a
open,
screen,
it's still exposed.
so you still have a tablet.
So
that
this
you can use.
one, because you don't have the motors and stuff compared to the rollable one, it should be cheaper to build, and it's more functional in different ways.
Right.
Like
Right.
it'd be tablet mode, tent mode, regular laptop mode, or the extended.
But
versus the other one is just regular and extended.
But it's also more vulnerable to damage. They actually have
100%.
they have like an origami style cover that you get like for an iPad that you can to cover the screen on the when it's closed to protect it, and then you can roll it up and kind of like stick it underneath here to like help support the screen when it's like open fully and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah, right.
So like, but just the fact that they need that cover is very telling. So I don't know that I would trust that thing in a backpack, to be honest.
I think the rollable is coming. We know that.
Yeah, the
That's
rollable.
definitely-
Well, they said it's official. It has a
That's-
price.
Yeah, that's more sorted. So I think I'm more likely to want that. But you're right.
Yeah.
If they can figure it out,
Oh, yeah.
the reliability and the longevity of it. But yeah, what other concept did you see? Do you remember? Was there anything else?
They have that dual monitor thing.
Yeah.
that goes
Oh
on.
yeah, but that's that's
I
just
feel
a
like I've seen
Lenovo
that,
branded
yeah.
accessory.
Well,
Yeah.
no. So the cool part is that it is a lot thinner and a lot lighter than most of the third party alternatives that are out there. Also, it's less cables because it uses the
Magic Bay.
Magic Bay thing
yeah.
to
Which, by the
transmit
way,
the data.
doesn't seem to exist in North America. It's only ever in Europe that
Oh,
they
I didn't even
demonstrate
notice that,
Magic
but
Bay
yeah.
stuff.
Huh.
Like, I don't think they sell a laptop with Magic Bay in the US.
Yeah, but
Which is really weird. Nick, do you know that?
I haven't checked.
So what but just it's like two screens that come off of
Yeah.
either side of the laptop, and then they had another one which was like a small 8-inch screen
Yeah, I like
that you
that.
could attach to one side for like a Slack feed or something
I
like
thought they
that.
had a whole bunch of Magic Bay stuff for a while now. So
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
This is a really cool concept. But that it didn't occur to me that every time we see a Magic Bay accessory,
Yeah.
either concept or real, it's not shown at a US event. It's
Right.
only shown,
No, they've shown them at CES the last few
Have they?
years. Yeah,
Yeah, I think they did.
but I don't.
yeah. The first ones were
I
shown
don't know
at
if they're
CES.
sold in the US. That's the thing. Because
Well,
when I
all of
asked
them,
about
all of
it,
them
they're
are
like,
always called concepts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
So,
But some laptops are shipping with Magic Bay.
yeah, but like all the cool stuff that they show off,
Yeah, it's
is
never-
always
it's
called
never
concept.
available.
I think the
Yeah.
only thing that they actually ship is
Camera.
The camera,
the
webcam,
camera
and the light
and then
bar.
the light bar.
The light
And,
bar.
like, yeah,
And
like
then,
basic. Like you need this in the office for teleconference.
And then the other concept that they had was the 3D, 2D.
Yeah,
thing.
you could wear a ring and then they would
Oh, you
track.
do that
it
too.
would
Yeah.
Like if you had a 3D, like a 3D display on the laptop is not new, but imagine you're watching something like you're an engineer and you're working on a jet engine. It's in 3D in front of you. You're wearing this ring, and as you move your hand, like the object on the screen tracks the ring and moves your hand to match.
Yeah, and there were
so
yeah.
you can do gestures and actually manipulate in 3D. Like it's easier than using a 2D mouse or one of those weird 3D pointing devices that they have.
Yeah.
So is that's more like of a business use case.
Yeah, but like, haven't we figured out like binocular cameras for 3D tracking already for
Oh, yeah.
gesture movement? Like
Oh yeah.
my MetaQuest does that with its extra
Yeah, yeah, no, of
cameras. It
course.
can track my hand with two cameras on the
Yeah,
outside.
I know, but I
Like,
mean, I think it's much more accurate. Also, the ring. You know how we all like to play fiddle with our rings and
Yes.
swing them?
yeah, imagine how that screws
This was
up.
this was a scroll wheel
Yeah.
for the gesture. So when you want to scroll to the menus, you went like this. it was really.
But couldn't I just do this? Like we've
Yeah,
we've
I
had
said-
vision, like, do I have to? This is awkward. Let me just do that.
Sure, but it's a concept.
Yeah, I know, but
It's designed to be awkward. So, I think Infinix and Tecno we probably want to talk about briefly. There's solar panel phones. There's a trifold
it's
from
the
Tecno,
Infinix.
right?
Yeah. And the glasses.
trifold from Tecno. Yeah.
Okay, so
Also the
I haven't checked that out. Anybody has checked that out yet?
The trifold?
From Tecno?
It's under
Yes.
glass. but-
Oh, we can't play with
No,
that.
it's not under. They have one guy there that will
take
fold
it out.
it for you.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
but,
okay,
But you
And
can't
then-
handle.
you
You
can't handle.
you can't handle the trifold.
I know, Jason. I know. So,
But they have
But
they have the glasses that you can wear, which is kind of cool. It's kind of like Ray-Ban, Meta Ray-Bans meets the Evan Realities interface. So like you can scroll through things and like select like your calendar or directions or a teleprompter, but it also takes photos, which
Oh.
is kind of neat.
They-
Samsung didn't show anything new. I think
Just
the
the A
Edge,
series, the A
Edge
series.
and the goggles. Well, the A
Yeah.
series came out. Yeah, but
Yeah, a much closer look at the
do
edge.
they
of
bring
the
them
movement.
here? Are they even here?
The A series?
They did briefings. I don't know if they're at the booth or not.
Yeah.
Interesting. I did not hear from that, even though I went to a
But you
Samsung
can get really
briefing.
close to the
I
edge.
went to a Samsung briefing about cameras, which was really interesting.
I missed that one.
Anyhow, well, so the A series, we'll try to cover that next week because that's going to be not
Yeah.
that interesting.
They'll sell a whole lot of them, but
Oh, yeah.
they're not interested.
Can I throw something in?
Yeah,
real quick?
please.
Because we didn't talk about the Tecno Spark, which is their ultra thin smartphone.
Yes, I'm about to go see that.
Check it out. It's really impressive. Like when you see
5.75 millimeters.
Yeah.
5.3. 5.3 millimeters.
3.
146 grams. They actually added weight to it because it was too thick.
No,
like
weird.
too light.
Interesting.
But it's really cool. You can definitely, get your hands on
It's
it.
there at the booth.
It's at the booth, and there are a lot of people around it. But it's interesting to compare that against what we're seeing with the Samsung Edge
Yeah.
being their ultra thin.
Right.
And I mean, the Spark almost seemed more impressive to me than
Yeah, of course. And also a 5,200 milliamp hour battery because they use
Yes.
this silicon carbon.
No,
No, they're
No,
not.
I asked about that, and he said, "No, this isn't silicon." He wouldn't tell me exactly what it was, but he's like, "This is our own
interesting.
battery thing."
Okay.
But I named silicon carbon, and he said, "No, it's not."
I see you, Tecno. Okay. And then I have to talk about WikiTel because they have a phone that they call the WP
200.
WP100 Titan.
Oh, I thought you meant the one with the smartwatch in it.
Well, that too. But they have the Titan, which I call the brick, because it is literally this thick and like I don't know, what is that? Like it's
20
a half an inch thick.
22,000 milliamp hour.
No, 33,000
Wow.
milliamp hour
Yeah.
battery.
Built-in battery.
It has a handle, so you can carry
Well,
it.
the previous model was a 22,000 milliamp hour. I have it,
handle.
and it did have a handle. Yeah,
And it does
like a
work.
grip, like a camcorder grip. You know that?
It does reverse wired charging at 18 watts. Like it's crazy. And then it also has a built-in projector, which I think it had last year. So that's fun. And then the WP200 has a removable earpiece on the back of it that also acts like a smartwatch, and they ship a strap with it so you can wear it as a smartwatch, and it like tracks your.
No, that's what I was talking about. Yeah,
Yeah, so
they
like-
offered to send me one of those. I said yes, yes.
Those two insane
Please do.
phones. I love those. I would never want to actually use it, but I'd want to review the hell.
I do want to quickly mention ZT Nubia Red Magic that are
Right.
here. So
Right.
Red Magic has their super high-end gold-plated phone here, or whatever is gold something, and then there is Nubia's got their Van Gogh edition of the Z70 Ultra.
Okay.
But what's surprising is that, get this, Nubia, is it Nubia? Yeah, it's Nubia. It's not Red Magic. Has a gaming phone, a budget gaming phone.
Really?
With trigger buttons.
Interesting.
Are you ready for the words that are going to come out of my mouth right now?
Yeah, hit it.
Powered by a Unisoc 5G chip. Okay, first of all, Unisoc, okay? And then I didn't even know they had 5G chips at Unisoc.
I don't think you're allowed to swear in this podcast.
I know we're at MediaTek, and thanks by the way MediaTek for the space, but come on, like Unisoc gaming phone? Like, okay, Unisoc budget phone, great. 5G, I didn't know Unisoc made a 5G chip.
Right.
But maybe it's a radio from MediaTek or Qualcomm, who knows?
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is that it's like a gaming phone, and it doesn't look crap. Like it looks okay. So I'm kind of tempted to go back and check it out.
Here's the thing. We get budget-friendly gaming phones from Poco, from...
Yeah, but they're not running Unisoc 5G chips.
They're not.
But they're budget-friendly phones, which is ridiculous. So it's not like it's a gaming phone because it has gaming features. It's not gaming performance.
Isn't it? I don't know.
No, it's going to be like a mid-range Snapdragon 700 series smartphone. Like that's at max. It's not a high-end phone. It's something in the mid-range. So.
Okay. ZT Boost, you should check out. They have a flip phone, a folding flip phone. It's version 2 of their last year's model. Much improved in specs. And I assume the price is going to be in the $600 range, so 600 euros or so, like last year. So that's actually cool because it's nice to see affordable flip phones as a thing. I really dig. Right.
Felt good to hand to me.
Anything else before we wrap up? I just want to do the quick rounds where we all intro our stuff. And
Yeah,
then get out of here.
I think I got
I'm good.
things out
We're
pretty
good
quick.
Yeah.
Nick,
So-
go ahead and tell people where to find you.
On the internet, of course.
Of course.
No, you can find me on fandroid.com or all the social medias, Fandroid or YouTube, TikTok with an S at the end because, they're weird.
Fantastic. Adam.
Dead Technology, Threads, and Instagram because I haven't abandoned Zuckerberg just yet. And writing everywhere and Benefit of the Doud YouTube channel, youtube.com/Benefit of the Doud. Yeah.
Jason,
Yeah.
into your stuff.
Yeah,
All
you
the
got a lot of stuff.
YouTube.com/@JasonHowell for video stuff. Android Faithful podcast. Search for it. I do actually talk about AI on an AI podcast called AI Inside.
For you.
Yeah, it's a weekly commitment.
He made a whole podcast about
Yes,
AI.
indeed. And then
Ballsy.
also writing for Digital Trends and ZDNet.
There you go.
So, doing all the things.
Yeah, you can find me, youtube.com /@TechNinjaSpeaks.
That's right.
all
You
the
guys should
and it-
subscribe to everyone's YouTube channels, read everybody's stuff, follow everyone on social. You know where to find me. I'm at Tankgirl, TNKGRL on the socials. That's on everything, mostly Threads and Instagram and Blue Sky. Podcasters at mobiletechpodcast.com on all the major platforms. Please subscribe. YouTube channel is youtube.com/mobiletechpodcast. You know how YouTube works. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, click the bell, comment. And if you want to support me, there's a Patreon. Patreon.com/Tankgirl. That's patreon.com/TNKGRL. So please support me. Check it out. You get a $5 a month video version of this podcast every week in advance. So that's one perk. And of course, I want to thank our friends at MediaTek. MediaTek, the world's fifth largest global fabless semiconductor company, powers more than 2 billion connected devices each year and is a market leader in developing innovative systems on chips, SoCs, for mobile device, home entertainment, connectivity, automotive, and IoT products. And folks, I'll be back next week for another show. Thank you all for being on the podcast. And until next week, cheers, everybody.
Peace.